Welcome to Zoe Stories. I said okay to a challenge. Now I'm living as a girl. I never thought saying yes to a stupid little challenge could completely change my life. But here I am, sitting on my couch in heels, wondering how I got here. Honestly, it all started as a joke between me and Emma. She's my girlfriend, 2 years strong, and probably the most unpredictable person I've ever met. Always teasing, always pushing limits. That night, we were having wine, laughing about dumb stuff, when she smirked and said, "I bet you couldn't live as a girl for a week." I froze. The words hit me harder than I expected. My stomach twisted with a mix of panic and something else. Excitement? Curiosity? I couldn't tell. But before I knew it, I blurted out, "Okay, I'll do it." Emma's grin was terrifying and amazing at the same time. "Oh, this is going to be fun," she said, eyes sparkling. And just like that, my life changed. I'm Alex, 23, a graphic designer stuck in a small city apartment. My life has always been pretty normal: work, friends, quiet nights. But I've always had this side of me I didn't show anyone, not even Emma. I've always liked experimenting with clothes, makeup, and just looking and feeling different. But it was private, hidden away. Until this challenge. The first few days were, well, honestly awkward. Emma went full-on coach mode. "Try your hair like this, walk like that, hold your hands this way," she instructed, and I stumbled through every move. Every skirt felt weird, every wig too tight, every step in heels a tiny adventure in pain. But I also felt alive. Like I was exploring a side of myself I'd always ignored. Home became this weird mix of fun and suspense. Every mirror reflected a version of me I didn't really know. I kept catching myself staring, half amazed, half panicked. I didn't recognize the person in the reflection, but I kind of liked it. And Emma? She loved it. She'd watch me, correcting little things here and there, and teasing me like I was her little experiment. "Perfect," she'd say, smirking, and my heart would do that stupid little jump that it always does around her. Even going outside felt like a challenge. I had to practice subtle makeup, outfits that weren't too obvious, but still me, only feminine. Walking down the street in heels, feeling eyes on me, holding myself differently. It was scary, but also thrilling. Every glance from strangers made me nervous and excited at the same time. I had to learn to act normal, blend in, and somehow survive as someone I wasn't, at least, not completely. Work was another level. I had to be careful with my clothes, my posture, my voice. Even the way I typed emails felt different. Everyone knew me as Alex the designer, not Alex the girl experimenting with heels and lipstick. One wrong move, and the secret could blow up in my face. But at home, Emma ruled the game. She taught me everything from eyeliner to posture, from polite walking to subtle gestures that made me feel like I really was someone else. Some days I loved it. Some days I wanted to hide under a blanket and never come out. But it was addictive. There was no turning back now. By the end of that first week, something had shifted. I wasn't just doing this challenge for Emma anymore. I was starting to do it for me. For the thrill, the secret, the curiosity. The fear of being caught was still there, buzzing in the back of my mind, but it had become part of the excitement. Living as a girl, even temporarily, was something I never expected to enjoy. And honestly, I wasn't sure I wanted to stop. That's how it all began. One silly challenge. One okay that changed everything. And now, I'm not sure who I'm more scared of, the world finding out or Emma finding out how much I love this. The morning after I said yes to Emma's challenge, I woke up feeling weird. My stomach was in knots, my heart was racing, and my mind was buzzing with all the what-ifs. What if I couldn't pull it off? What if someone saw me? What if I actually liked it too much? Emma was already awake, sipping her coffee and grinning like she'd won some invisible game. "Good morning, Alex," she said. "Ready for your first day?" "First day?" I asked, my voice cracking slightly. "Yes," she said, tilting her head. "Your first full day, as you know." Her. She winked, and I felt my cheeks heat up. We started small. The first step was clothes. Emma pulled out a neatly folded skirt, soft pink, and a simple blouse. "Try this on," she said, tossing them at me. My hand shook slightly as I took the fabric. Holding a skirt in your hands might sound harmless, but at that moment, it felt like holding a ticking bomb. I retreated to the bedroom and slipped into the outfit. The skirt was snug but comfortable, and the blouse felt surprisingly soft against my skin. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. The person staring back wasn't exactly me. Or maybe they were, just filtered through a lens I hadn't allowed before. A thrill ran through me, tinged with fear. Emma clapped when I came out.
"See?
"Not so scary, right?" she said, circling me like a proud coach. "Now for the fun part, heels." Heels. That word alone made my knees wobble. I'd never worn anything like them, at least not seriously. Emma handed me a pair of simple black pumps. I stared at them, mentally preparing for the awkward disaster I was about to become. "Just take small steps," she instructed. "Heel first, then toe. Like this." She demonstrated, swaying gracefully. I tried to mimic her, wobbling and swearing under my breath. "Not bad," she said, laughing. "You're a natural, sort of." By mid-morning, I was exhausted. Walking in heels, adjusting my posture, trying not to look awkward, it was a full-body workout I hadn't anticipated. But every stumble, every awkward step, also made me feel alive. There was a thrill in it, something I couldn't quite explain. It was like sneaking into a part of myself I had always hidden. Lunch came, and with it, my first real test outside the apartment. Emma suggested a quick walk to the corner cafe. "You need to try this in public," she said. My heart sank.
Public.
Real people. Eyes on me. I followed her instructions carefully, small steps, straight back, relaxed shoulders. The sidewalk felt like a runway. People glanced at me, some friendly, some indifferent, but every look made my stomach flip. I was terrified someone would recognize me. I tried not to think about what my coworkers would say if they saw me like this. Emma held my hand, guiding me.
"See?
"It's not so bad," she whispered. Her grip was grounding, comforting, and slightly intoxicating. I realized I wasn't just following instructions. I was leaning into it, enjoying the thrill even as I panicked inside. Back at the apartment, the lessons continued. Emma pulled out a small makeup kit. "Time for eyeliner, blush, and lip color," she said. My first attempts were clumsy. I accidentally smudged my eyeliner, over-applied blush, and nearly swallowed lipstick trying to adjust it. But Emma was patient, correcting me gently, encouragingly. "It's okay. You're learning. You're improving already." By evening, my reflection had changed. Not just my appearance, but how I carried myself. There was a subtle shift in my posture, the tilt of my head, the sway of my hips. My voice softened when I spoke, even unconsciously. Each adjustment felt like peeling back a layer I'd hidden for years, revealing someone I didn't fully understand, but who I was starting to enjoy. The internal struggle was real. I loved the attention, the thrill of transformation, the excitement of exploring a secret side of myself. But part of me was panicked. What if I couldn't control it? What if it went too far? What if Emma or someone else saw too much? The fear and excitement were tangled, impossible to separate, but it kept me on edge in the best way possible. Dinner was another adventure. Cooking in heels, sitting at the table with a soft blouse and skirt, carefully balancing my posture, it was all new. Emma watched me like a hawk, correcting small things, teasing, laughing, and encouraging. I was exhausted, but I couldn't stop smiling. There was something addictive about being so carefully molded, so observed, yet allowed to explore this hidden side of myself. By bedtime, I was physically tired, mentally exhausted, but emotionally wired. I sat in front of the mirror one last time, tracing my reflection, touching the soft fabric of the blouse, admiring how the skirt fell perfectly over my legs. I was still me, Alex, but layered on top was someone new, fragile, vulnerable, and thrilling. And I knew, deep down, that this was just the beginning. Emma's challenge was more than a dare. It was a doorway into a life I hadn't allowed myself to explore, a life that was thrilling, terrifying, and maybe a little addictive. The next morning, I woke up with sore calves, wobbly knees, and a weird mix of dread and excitement. Emma was already in the kitchen, humming, holding a cup of coffee like she owned my soul. "Ready for round two?" she asked, eyes sparkling. Round two, as it turned out, meant going deeper. Yesterday was about basics, clothes, posture, tiny steps and heels. Today? Today, I was learning the details that made someone look and feel like a girl. Small gestures, subtle changes, and, of course, makeup mastery. Emma handed me a tiny brush. "Let's work on your eyebrows," she said. "Shape them carefully, make them softer. You want them feminine, but natural." My hands shook as I approached the mirror. I had always been careful with my appearance, but this felt different. Intimate. Vulnerable. A line drawn between the person I normally was and the version Emma was shaping. It wasn't just about how I looked, it was about how I carried myself. Emma kept correcting the tilt of my head, the way I crossed my legs, even how I held my phone. "Relax your shoulders. Tilt your chin slightly. Smile softer. Less like a guy trying to be cute, more like you, but her." I stumbled at first. Every movement felt awkward. But the more I practiced, the more natural it became. And that naturalness terrified me. I was slipping further into this persona than I ever expected, and yet part of me wanted to stay there. By afternoon, Emma had me trying outfits that were bolder. Skirts that swayed, tops that hugged curves I didn't really have, heels that made my legs feel impossibly long. She laughed as I wobbled down the hallway in a pair of strappy stilettos. "Confidence, Alex. You can do this." We went outside again. This time, it wasn't just a short walk, it was errands. Coffee, a quick grocery run, and a stop at the pharmacy. Every glance from strangers, every accidental brush of a hand on mine, made my stomach flip. Emma walked beside me like a coach, guiding, correcting, teasing. "Pretend everyone's watching," she whispered. "Act like you belong in that skirt. Own it." And somehow, I did. Not perfectly, but enough that a few heads turned. A few smiles lingered a moment longer than usual. The thrill was addictive. It wasn't just the clothes or makeup, it was the attention, the subtle power of walking into a room and having people see me differently. Back home, Emma had another challenge: voice. Speak softer, slower. Emphasize certain words. It's subtle, but it makes a difference. I practiced reading aloud, stumbled over words, laughed at how ridiculous I sounded. But by evening, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror speaking in this softer tone and realized I kind of liked it. Internal conflict bubbled under the surface. I loved the way the persona felt, the thrill of transformation, the secret that only Emma and I shared. But there was fear too, fear of losing control, fear of someone discovering me, fear that this was going too far. I didn't know if I could ever go back to normal. Emma seemed to sense it. She pulled me close, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. "You're doing great," she said softly. "And don't worry, you're still you. Just exploring a side you didn't know existed." Her words were comforting, but they also made me realize just how deep I was in. That night, I sat in front of the mirror, tracing the contours of my face, the shape of my eyebrows, the subtle curve of my hips under the skirt. I was exhausted, exhilarated, and terrified, all at once. I was learning how to be someone else, but also discovering a side of myself I hadn't allowed before. And somewhere in that exhaustion and thrill, I felt a dangerous thought creep in. Maybe I didn't want to stop. By the third day, I was starting to feel like this new version of me, her, wasn't just a costume. It was becoming a part of my daily rhythm. But with comfort came danger. Emma, of course, saw it as an opportunity to up the stakes. "Okay," she said over breakfast, a mischievous glint in her eye. "Today we're testing your nerves. We're going somewhere more public." My heart sank. Public meant real people, real reactions, and real risks. What if someone from work or a friend spotted me? What if I tripped or said something that blew the illusion? My stomach churned, but a small, guilty part of me felt excited. Emma handed me a new outfit, a fitted dress that hugged my waist, heels that made my calves burn just looking at them, and a clutch bag to hold my essentials. You're going to look amazing, she said. But remember, confidence is everything. Walk like you own it. I nodded, though my knees threatened to give out. The mirror reflected someone familiar, yet completely different. My hair fell perfectly over my shoulders, makeup accentuating features I hadn't noticed before, and the heels forced me into a posture that felt alien but thrilling. We walked out into the busy streets. The sun was bright, people were bustling, and every glance felt magnified. My heart raced with every step. Emma held my hand, her grip reassuring, but her teasing tone didn't help calm me. Smile at people, she whispered. Make eye contact. Don't look like you're scared. I tried, but the first person we passed gave me a curious glance, and I nearly froze. My foot caught on the curb, and I stumbled slightly, clutching Emma's hand for balance. She laughed, not unkindly, but enough to make me blush. You're fine. Just keep going. As we entered a cafe, I realized this was the ultimate test. Ordering coffee, interacting with strangers, maintaining composure while sitting in heels that made me constantly aware of my every movement. I felt exposed, like everyone could see through me, and yet there was a strange exhilaration in it. Emma whispered tips as we navigated the crowd. Sit with your legs crossed, hands delicate on your lap, speak softly but confidently. I followed her instructions, but my inner panic was constant. I kept imagining someone I knew walking in, pointing, laughing, or, worst of all, recognizing me. After the cafe, we strolled through a small shopping street. Each store window reflected my image back at me. The soft curve of my hips, the subtle sway of my shoulders, the careful steps in heels. Every reflection reminded me how different I looked and how much I liked it. The thrill and fear tangled inside me, impossible to separate. Then it happened. A woman from across the street glanced directly at me and smiled. I panicked, worried she knew me from somewhere. My heels clicked harder on the pavement, and I felt Emma squeeze my hand. Relax, she whispered. She's just being friendly. You're doing great. The day ended with both exhaustion and adrenaline. Back at the apartment, I collapsed on the couch, heels kicked off, dress wrinkled, but a small, proud smile on my face. I had survived public exposure. I had walked among strangers and felt both terrified and alive. But the internal struggle deepened. Part of me was thrilled, addicted, even to the attention and the transformation. Another part of me feared the consequences. How far could this go before someone found out? How long could I keep balancing between Alex and her? Emma sat beside me, brushing a loose strand of hair behind my ear. You did amazing, she said. And you know what? Tomorrow's going to be even more fun. I groaned internally. Fun, she called it. I called it a heart-stopping challenge. But deep down, I knew I was hooked. The fear, the thrill, the forbidden excitement. It was intoxicating. As I stared at my reflection that night, I realized something important. I wasn't just trying on a persona anymore. I was living it. And there was no turning back, not fully. Underscore 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 underscore. By day 4, the thrill of transformation had started to feel almost normal, but Emma wasn't about to let me get too comfortable. Today, we raised the stakes, she said over breakfast, her eyes gleaming. You're going to meet new people and keep your secret. I gulped. Meeting new people? Alone? My stomach twisted, but part of me felt that familiar tingle of excitement. Emma handed me a delicate outfit, a floral dress that hit just above my knees, strappy heels that made me teeter slightly, and a handbag that felt way too small for all my nerves. As I dressed, I caught my reflection and froze. Every day, the transformation felt more complete. The face staring back at me wasn't exactly Alex, and yet it wasn't entirely someone else. My lips glistened with subtle gloss, my eyes framed perfectly, my hair cascading softly. I didn't just look different, I felt different. The first challenge came immediately. Emma insisted we stop by a small boutique she liked. Just browse, she said. Smile. Make small talk if someone talks to you, don't panic. Simple instructions, but my heart raced. The moment we stepped inside, I realized how exposed I felt. A friendly shop assistant approached. Hi, can I help you with anything? I stammered, my voice softer than normal. Emma squeezed my hand under the table, whispering, Relax. Take your time. Somehow, I managed to chat politely, browse, and even compliment a dress. No one seemed suspicious, and yet every nerve in my body was on edge. Outside, we stopped for a brief walk, and I felt someone glance at me twice, a man who looked vaguely familiar. My knees went weak. I turned to Emma, whispering, Do you think he knows me? She chuckled softly. Nope. He's just a stranger. Focus on me. But the city wasn't forgiving. Each passerby, each smile, each accidental touch, my anxiety spiked. I was constantly aware of my heels, my skirt, the sway of my hips, the tilt of my head. I felt like a performer on stage, and Emma was both my audience and my director. By the afternoon, Emma suggested a coffee stop at a busier cafe. Think of it as practice for real life, she said. Inside, the crowd pressed closer than I liked, and the barista greeted me warmly. I ordered my drink, hands trembling slightly, and managed a polite smile when she handed it over. Then came the unexpected twist. A voice from behind. Alex? Is that you? My blood ran cold. I froze mid-step, my coffee cup trembling in my hands. Emma nudged me gently. Play it cool, she whispered. I turned slowly, and to my relief, it was just a stranger I vaguely recognized from a past class. He looked confused but friendly. Oh, hi. I thought you were someone else, he said, smiling awkwardly. My heart was still hammering, but I realized something crucial. The thrill wasn't just in the risk of being caught. It was in navigating it, surviving it, and feeling that rush when nothing went wrong. After leaving the cafe, Emma led me to a quiet park. She smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. You did amazing today. You're learning to navigate the world as her, and you're doing it so well. I felt both pride and unease. The more I succeeded, the deeper I was slipping into this other life. I loved it, but I also feared losing control. I was walking a tightrope between exhilaration and exposure. That night, alone in my room, I examined myself in the mirror. Every curve, every subtle detail, every practiced gesture. It all felt real now. I could see how much I had changed in just a few days. And I couldn't deny the truth. I was hooked. But Emma's voice echoed in my mind. Tomorrow will be even more challenging. I shivered. Not from cold, but from anticipation and fear. What would tomorrow bring? By the fifth day, I felt like I was living in two realities at once. Alex at home, and her, the version Emma, was shaping me into. I had learned the gestures, the posture, the walk, the voice. I could navigate public spaces with a shaky but growing confidence. And yet, Emma was relentless. Today, we push it further, she said, placing a new outfit in front of me. A sleek, form-fitting dress, heels taller than any I'd worn, and a small clutch with nothing in it. We're going somewhere crowded. You'll have to keep your composure, your secret, and your confidence, all at once. I swallowed hard. Crowded? My chest tightened at the thought. But the thrill in Emma's eyes pushed me forward. I dressed carefully, checking the mirror multiple times. I barely recognized the girl staring back at me. Her curves, the soft wave of her hair, the polished makeup, it was real, not just a costume. We entered the downtown market, bustling with people, noises, and smells. My heart raced, every step in the heels feeling like walking a tightrope over a pit of anxiety. Emma guided me through the crowd, whispering tips. Keep your head up, shoulders back, small smiles, minimal hand movements. At first, it went smoothly. I smiled at passers-by, navigated stalls, complimented merchandise, even managed to avoid stepping on anyone's toes. But then came the real test. A group of people I knew from work appeared ahead. My stomach dropped. They hadn't seen me like this. If they recognized me, I didn't want to think about it. Emma grabbed my hand tightly. Stay calm. Walk like you belong. Smile. You've got this. I forced a confident smile, my pulse hammering, and we walked past. A fleeting glance from a colleague made me panic, but he seemed distracted and didn't linger. Relief washed over me, but it was quickly replaced by self-awareness. I was literally performing, my every movement calculated, my every expression measured. Then, just when I thought I was safe, my heel caught on a loose cobblestone. I stumbled forward, clutching Emma's arm for support. People nearby glanced, a few chuckled softly. My face burned. Emma whispered urgently, "Recover gracefully." I straightened, lifted my chin, and continued as if nothing happened. Inside, my heart was racing, a cocktail of fear, embarrassment, and exhilaration. I realized this was what Emma wanted, forcing me to experience the vulnerability, the thrill, the rush of almost being exposed. We ducked into a quiet cafe to catch our breath. I sat, heels aching, dress snug, hands trembling slightly. Emma poured me a coffee, smiling. "You're learning fast. I can see it. You're not just pretending anymore, you're her." I sipped cautiously, overwhelmed by the duality of my emotions.
Pride. Fear.
Desire. Anxiety. I was addicted to the attention and the thrill, but I was also terrified of losing control, of someone discovering my secret. As we left, Emma had one final challenge for the day, a short walk through the park during sunset. People were everywhere, families, joggers, couples. I felt exposed in a way I hadn't before. Every glance, every accidental brush of hands, every whisper made my nerves spike. But something shifted. With Emma beside me, guiding me, I began to enjoy it. The way the world looked through her eyes, the thrill of being seen differently, the subtle power of embodying this new persona. I realized I was no longer just Alex. I was exploring a side of myself I never knew existed. By the time we returned home, my legs ached, my mind buzzed, and my heart still raced. Emma helped me remove my heels, brushed a strand of hair behind my ear, and smiled. "You did amazing today. You're ready for anything now." I flopped onto the couch, exhausted but exhilarated. I knew the next phase would be even more intense, the point where fear, desire, and suspense would collide. But for now, I allowed myself a small moment of pride. I had survived public exposure, social scrutiny, and near disasters. I had grown, changed, and embraced this other side of myself. As I stared at my reflection one last time before bed, I whispered to myself, "I don't know if I can go back." And deep down, I realized that maybe I didn't want to. The morning of the climax dawned bright and deceptively calm. Emma woke me with a sly smile. "Today, the real test begins," she said, her eyes sparkling with mischief. My stomach sank and fluttered at the same time. I didn't know what she had planned, but I could feel the tension building in my chest like a coiled spring. After a quick breakfast, Emma handed me a new outfit, a tight, elegant dress in deep maroon, paired with impossibly high stilettos and a delicate clutch. "You'll need to be flawless," she instructed. "No mistakes. Confidence, poise, charm. And remember, every eye will be on you." I stared at the ensemble in shock. The heels looked deadly, the dress demanding, and the thought of facing a crowd sent shivers down my spine. But Emma's hand on mine steadied me. "You've got this," she whispered. Her encouragement was both comforting and terrifying. Our destination was a high-profile charity gala she had arranged for me to attend, completely alone, without Emma by my side once we arrived. I had never been in such a setting. The grand hall was gleaming with chandeliers, marble floors, and elegantly dressed people. My legs shook with every step in the heels as we approached the entrance. Emma leaned close. "Remember what I taught you. Own your presence. You're not Alex here. You're her." And then, with a wink, she released my hand and stepped back. I was on my own. Inside, I took a deep breath and walked forward, heels clicking sharply against the polished floor. Every eye seemed to glance my way, some with curiosity, others with polite recognition. I felt like a tightrope walker suspended over a chasm of judgment and scrutiny. The first few interactions were nerve-wracking but manageable. I smiled, laughed at the right moments, and nodded in agreement when spoken to. But soon I noticed someone familiar, a coworker from the office, someone I had hoped would never see me like this. Panic surged. My palms were slick, my heart hammering. He approached, a polite smile on his face. "Alex, you look different," he said, confusion in his voice. I froze. Emma's voice echoed in my mind, confidence, poise, charm. I forced a smile, adjusted my posture, and replied in a slightly higher, softer tone. "Oh, thanks. Just trying something new today." The lie felt natural, almost intoxicating. He smiled, still puzzled, but moved on to other guests. Relief washed over me briefly, but I knew the real danger hadn't passed. Every step, every glance, every whisper felt amplified. I felt exposed in ways I had never imagined, but at the same time, I felt alive. The adrenaline, the thrill, the tension, it all coalesced into an intoxicating rush I couldn't ignore. Then came the twist, a sudden announcement from the stage. "We have a special segment, introducing our featured guest of the evening." A spotlight swept across the room and landed on me. My heart skipped a beat.
Me?
Emma's earlier lessons kicked in. I squared my shoulders, lifted my chin, and walked to the stage as gracefully as I could manage. The audience's applause rang in my ears, and I realized I was performing, not just hiding. Every gesture, every smile, every step was amplified by the hundreds of eyes watching. As I reached the center, the MC smiled warmly. "Tonight's guest has embraced a daring challenge and is living her truth with courage and style. Let's hear it for her." The applause swelled, and I felt heat rise to my cheeks. My secret was no longer just mine, it was a spectacle. The exhilaration was intoxicating, but so was the fear. I caught a reflection of myself in a mirror behind the stage, her, fully formed, confident, yet trembling beneath the surface. The heels pinched, my legs ached, but the adrenaline kept me upright. I spoke a few rehearsed words, smiled, nodded, and then stepped down, hands clammy but heart racing. But the real test wasn't over. As I mingled afterward, I realized someone had recognized me fully, my closest colleague, who had worked alongside Alex for years. His gaze lingered, sharp and knowing. My stomach plummeted. I felt frozen, caught between two identities. Should I flee? Should I reveal the truth? The risk of exposure made my heart pound. Emma appeared at that moment, slipping her hand into mine. "Stay calm," she whispered, a reassuring anchor in the storm. Together, we navigated the room, dodging awkward questions, deflecting curiosity, and maintaining the persona that had become my armor. By the time we left the gala, my legs were shaking uncontrollably, my mind exhausted, but a thrill lingered, a blend of fear, excitement, and triumph. I had survived public scrutiny, close recognition, and intense pressure. I had become her, fully, in a way that no one else could see beneath. As Emma smiled at me in the car ride home, I realized the magnitude of what had just happened. The challenge was no longer a secret game, it was a lived reality. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to return to Alex just yet. The next day, Emma had a new plan, one that immediately made my stomach twist. "We're going somewhere even bigger," she said, her eyes gleaming with mischief. "It's a shopping district filled with people you know. You'll need to maintain your composure and keep up the act." I felt my heart sink. Familiar faces, crowded streets, and the unforgiving heels. I was already exhausted from the gala. But Emma's hand on mine reminded me that she wouldn't let me fall. Not literally, but emotionally, I knew that could happen at any moment. We arrived at the heart of downtown, bustling with weekend shoppers. The air was thick with voices, car horns, and the scent of street food. I tried to breathe slowly, but each step in the heels was a reminder of the precarious position I was in. One slip, one misstep, and everything could unravel. At first, I managed to blend in, keeping my posture perfect, my voice soft but confident, my gaze composed. Emma whispered reminders occasionally, and I tried to focus on her guidance instead of the judgmental stares. Then I spotted them, my classmates from college, walking directly toward us. Panic surged in my chest. They hadn't seen me in years, and certainly not like this. My pulse raced, and I felt a wave of heat rise to my cheeks. Emma squeezed my hand. "You've got this. Remember her, not Alex." I plastered a smile on my face, my stomach churning. The closer they got, the more my anxiety mounted. One of them glanced directly at me and raised an eyebrow, clearly recognizing something. I stumbled slightly on the uneven pavement, and my heel clicked loudly against the concrete. "Oh my God," I thought, trying to calm myself. "Don't embarrass yourself." Emma stepped slightly ahead, intercepting the group with a confident wave. "Hey, fancy seeing you all here," she said smoothly. The classmates looked surprised but friendly, and I followed her lead, nodding and laughing when appropriate. The encounter ended without disaster, but my hands were shaking and my heart was still pounding. Emma guided me toward a quieter boutique, promising a short break. I sank onto a chair, removing the heels, and trying to collect my thoughts. "You're doing amazing," Emma said, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "But the real challenge isn't over yet. You're going to meet someone important today, someone who could completely unravel you if you aren't careful." My stomach dropped. I had no idea who she meant, but the tension coiled tighter. The thought of being exposed again, but this time in front of someone who truly knew me, was terrifying. Soon, we walked into a luxury department store. My senses were assaulted by the bright lights, the polished floors, and the throngs of shoppers. And then I saw him, my boss, walking toward us with a look of polite surprise. My blood ran cold. He knew me as Alex at the office, not this confident, stylish, feminine version of myself. Emma's eyes sparkled. "Stay calm," she whispered. "Just act natural." I tried, but every step felt like walking on glass. He smiled politely. "Alex, I didn't expect to see you like this." His tone was curious, not accusatory, but my mind raced. What could he think? Was he joking? Or had he already figured out the secret I had tried so hard to keep? Just trying something new," I replied, my voice higher and softer than usual, trembling slightly. He nodded slowly, studying me. "Well, you look different." "Very confident." Emma grinned.
See?
"No problem at all. Keep your composure. You're doing beautifully." I exhaled slowly, forcing a smile, but the tension hadn't left me. Every glance from him, every sideways glance from other shoppers, reminded me that I was living on a knife's edge. The thrill of performing and the fear of exposure had never been so intertwined. Then, just as I thought I could breathe again, my heel caught on the edge of a display stand. I stumbled forward, clutching Emma's arm for balance. A small crowd noticed, and I felt my face burning with embarrassment. Emma whispered urgently, guiding me back to stability, but I knew the moment had been noticed. The adrenaline, fear, and exhilaration coursing through me were overwhelming. I had survived public exposure before, but this was a different level. I realized that the thrill of being caught, of living on the edge, had become addictive. I was no longer just Alex pretending. I was someone entirely new. As we left the store, I felt exhausted, exhilarated, and terrified all at once. Emma smiled at me, holding my hand tightly. "You did amazing. You're learning faster than I ever imagined. But tomorrow is the ultimate test." My heart sank. If today had been this intense, what could tomorrow possibly hold? And deep down, I knew that I was no longer sure I wanted to go back to my old life as Alex. The following morning, Emma's challenge became even more real. "Today," she said, "you're going to meet my friends. And they've never met you like this." My chest tightened. Meeting new people was always nerve-wracking, but meeting them as her, completely exposed in my cross-dressing persona, felt like walking into a storm with no shelter. We arrived at a cozy cafe tucked away from the main street. Sunlight spilled across the tables, making the space warm and inviting. But I couldn't relax. Every step I took in the heels made me hyper-aware of my posture, my voice, my presence. Emma introduced me to her friends with casual grace. "This is Alex. Well, actually, today, you can call her Alexis." The name sounded strange on my tongue, yet thrilling at the same time. I smiled, nodded, and extended a hand, my heart hammering. Her friends were curious but kind, asking questions, laughing at light jokes, and making casual conversation. But with every glance, I could feel their eyes scanning me, assessing, judging, noticing the subtle details that distinguished Alex from Alexis. As the conversation flowed, I felt a sudden sharp tug at my confidence. One of Emma's friends, curious and unfiltered, leaned in. "So, you really chose to look like this? It's not just for fun, right?" The word struck me like lightning. I felt my face flush. Was it wrong to feel a mix of embarrassment and pride? To acknowledge that this new persona felt liberating? I hesitated, swallowing hard. Yes, I mean, it's a challenge, but it's kind of how I've always wanted to explore myself. I admitted, my voice shaky. Emma's hand squeezed mine under the table, a silent anchor. Her friends exchanged intrigued looks, but no one judged harshly. Still, the weight of exposure, the risk of slipping, and the fear of being caught by someone who truly knew me pressed down like a physical force. Then came the twist, a phone notification from work. My colleague had sent a message asking if I could review a report urgently. Panic surged. If I responded, they'd see me as Alex, breaking the illusion. If I ignored it, I'd risk professional consequences. Emma noticed my sudden tension. "Don't worry," she whispered. "We'll handle it." But I couldn't shake the anxiety. My dual identity was hanging by a thread, and the choice I made next would test every ounce of composure I had left. I excused myself, hands trembling, and stepped outside. The cool air hit me, and I could feel my racing heart beginning to slow slightly. I typed a quick, vague response, careful not to reveal anything. My palms were clammy, but I managed to send it. Returning inside, I felt the eyes of Emma's friends on me again. I realized that, despite the fear and suspense, I had adapted. I was surviving, no, thriving, in a situation that would have crippled Alex just days before. As the morning wore on, a sudden accident intensified the suspense. A candle on the table toppled toward my dress. Time seemed to slow. My hands shot out instinctively, saving the fabric from flames, but the gesture drew attention. Gasps and concerned murmurs surrounded me. My face burned, my heart raced, but I realized I was handling it. Emma smiled proudly.
"See?
You're stronger than you think." Her eyes sparkled with encouragement, and I felt a surge of warmth and determination. By the time we left the cafe, I was exhausted, but exhilarated. I had faced scrutiny, exposure, and unexpected challenges, and survived. I was no longer just Alex hiding behind a persona. Alexis had become real, tangible, and undeniably present. As we walked back, Emma leaned in close. "Tomorrow," she whispered, "you'll face the ultimate test.
But tonight, rest."
You've earned it." The next morning, Emma's challenge escalated. "Today," she said with a mischievous grin, "you're going to a formal event. A cocktail party. Lots of people, lots of judgment, and lots of cameras." My stomach dropped. My previous challenges had tested my composure in small doses, but this was a stage, and I was the main act. We arrived at the venue, a lavish ballroom glittering with chandeliers and polished floors. The air buzzed with laughter, conversation, and the soft clinking of glasses. I could feel every eye on us as we entered, some curious, some admiring, and some indifferent, but all of them a potential threat to my carefully crafted persona. Emma whispered, "Remember, Alexis. You're confident. You're poised. You're charming." I nodded, though inside, anxiety threatened to consume me. The heels pinched my feet, my dress clung snugly, and the makeup felt heavier than ever. Yet, the thrill of stepping into this new identity pushed me forward. Almost immediately, a group of elegantly dressed women approached us. They smiled, chatted, and asked questions, all with a subtle air of assessment. My heart raced with every glance, every compliment, and every raised eyebrow. I could feel the duality of my existence pressing on me, Alex's instincts for caution clashing with Alexis's newfound confidence. Then came the unexpected twist. A photographer approached us, insisting on a photo for the party album. Emma nudged me forward. Go on, smile. Show them who you are. I froze. The camera's lens felt like a spotlight, exposing every detail, every vulnerability. My legs trembled slightly, my hands felt clammy, and I could hear my heartbeat thundering in my ears. But Emma's encouraging smile steadied me. I took a deep breath, lifted my chin, and posed. The flash went off. I felt a mixture of relief and exhilaration. This was public, permanent, and unchangeable, a captured moment of my transformation. And somehow, I had survived it. But the suspense wasn't over. A familiar voice cut through the music and chatter. Alex. My head snapped toward the sound. It was my coworker from the office, someone I hadn't expected to see here. My stomach lurched. How could she recognize me like this? I tried to remain composed, smiling politely, but the panic simmered beneath the surface. Emma's hand gripped mine. Stay calm. You've got this. I approached my coworker, my legs unsteady. She tilted her head, studying me, her expression curious, but not judgmental. Wow, you look different, she said cautiously. Yes, just trying something new, I replied, my voice higher, softer, and trembling slightly. I realized that every word, every gesture, was under scrutiny. Every flick of my hair, every step in the heels, could give me away. The rest of the evening became a delicate dance, laughing, chatting, posing for pictures, and keeping the dual identity intact. Each close encounter, each pointed glance from someone who might recognize Alex as Alexis, sent adrenaline coursing through my veins. Then, as if on cue, disaster struck. One of my heels caught on the edge of the carpet, and I stumbled forward, nearly spilling a tray of champagne. Emma caught me just in time, steadying me with a grip that was both reassuring and electrifying. My face flushed with embarrassment, but a thrill ran through me. I was navigating danger, living fully in the persona I had embraced. Later, as we stepped outside to breathe, I felt the weight of the night settle over me. I was exhausted, exhilarated, and terrified all at once. I realized something profound. I wasn't just surviving these challenges, I was transforming. Alexis wasn't just a disguise. She was a part of me, a reflection of desires I had suppressed for too long. Emma smiled at me, her eyes shining with pride. Tomorrow, she said softly, is the final test. And it's going to be unforgettable. My stomach churned with anticipation and dread. Whatever awaited me, I knew that I was no longer just Alex hiding from the world. I was Alexis, fully present, fully aware, and completely vulnerable. And somehow, I was ready to face the ultimate challenge. The day of the final challenge arrived, and I could feel the tension buzzing in the air. Emma had something special planned, a gathering that would truly test every aspect of my transformation. I wasn't just facing a social event this time. I was confronting myself, my fears, and the blurred line between Alex and Alexis. Emma led me to a beautifully decorated room in her house, a mirror-lined studio with soft lighting, plush rugs, and elegant decor. This, she said, is your stage. Tonight, you fully become Alexis. My heart raced. I took a deep breath, reminding myself that the last few days had prepared me for this. Social exposure, public scrutiny, even near disasters, but this was different. This was intimate, personal, and unrelenting. I began my transformation ritual with care. The familiar scent of perfume, the soft brush of makeup, the delicate sliding of stockings over my legs, all of it heightened my awareness. Each motion was deliberate, each step reinforcing the persona that had begun to feel like me. I wasn't just putting on a dress or heels. I was embodying a confidence, a vulnerability, and an identity that felt wholly alive. Emma watched, smiling with a mix of pride and excitement. "Remember, this isn't just about how you look," she said. "It's about how you feel. Alexis is free. Alexis is fearless. Alexis is you." The mirror reflected more than my appearance. It reflected my journey. I saw the trepidation in my eyes, the hesitation in my posture, and then, gradually, the shift. My shoulders squared, my smile softened, my gaze grew steadier. Alexis had emerged fully, and for the first time, I felt her power. The thrill, the excitement, and the fear all entwined in a singular identity. Suddenly, the door opened. Emma's friends and a few unexpected visitors arrived, ready to witness this final act. My stomach flipped. Could I maintain composure under such scrutiny? I nodded to myself, taking small, careful steps into the room. Every eye was on me. Every whisper carried significance. A casual comment from a friend made my heart skip. "You've really transformed. It's like seeing a whole new person." The words were flattering, but the weight behind them was palpable. This was the culmination of everything: the suspense, the risk, the exposure, and the thrill of being completely vulnerable in a world that didn't know Alex existed. Then came the symbolic moment that crystallized my transformation. As I turned to adjust my dress in front of the mirror, a soft tear fell from the corner of my eye. It caught the light, reflecting both anxiety and exhilaration. I realized that this persona, this identity, wasn't just a challenge or a game. Alexis was me, an extension of everything I had suppressed, a visible manifestation of my desires, my courage, and my vulnerability. Emma stepped closer, guiding my hand to hers. "You did it," she whispered. "Alexis, you truly are yourself." The room seemed to hold its breath. The applause, the smiles, and the supportive gazes surrounded me, yet the tension lingered. Was this permanent? Would the world accept Alexis? Could I balance the two halves of my life? A sudden knock on the door made my heart leap. I froze, unsure who it could be. Emma's smile faltered slightly. "It's probably just a delivery," she said, but the uncertainty was real. Every challenge I had faced built up to this: exposure, judgment, risk, and now a final unknown loomed. I turned toward the door, taking a steadying breath. In that moment, I felt the full weight of my journey: the internal conflict, the exhilaration, the fear, and the liberation. Alexis wasn't just a persona anymore. She was an undeniable reality. The door creaked open, and a shadow appeared in the frame. My heart stopped. I braced myself, unsure whether it was a friend, a stranger, or someone from my old life about to shatter the fragile balance I had built. Emma's hand tightened around mine, a silent promise of support. And then the screen cuts to black, leaving everything unresolved. The knock at the door echoed through the quiet room, each thump reverberating against my chest. My heels clicked nervously against the polished floor as I froze in place, heart hammering. Emma's hand squeezed mine, grounding me, reminding me that no matter what awaited on the other side, I wasn't alone. I took a shaky breath. "Who is it?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm, though every nerve screamed in anticipation. "Delivery," Emma replied casually, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of unease. Even the most mundane explanation couldn't hide the tension in the air. I stepped forward slowly, the dress swaying with each careful step. The mirror behind me reflected Alexis fully, tall, poised, confident, yet with a vulnerability that only I knew existed beneath the surface. I adjusted my hair, forcing a smile that felt both genuine and rehearsed. The doorknob turned. I froze completely, every muscle tense. Emma's hand still gripped mine, steadying me. The door opened, and for a brief heartbeat, I couldn't breathe. Standing there was someone from my old life, a familiar face that had no idea about Alexis, no understanding of this persona I had embraced. Recognition flashed across their eyes, a mix of curiosity, confusion, and something that made my stomach twist. I forced a smile. "Hi. I wasn't expecting anyone," I said, my voice betraying a hint of nervous laughter. They stepped inside slowly, glancing around the room. "Wow, you look different," they said, voice filled with both surprise and intrigue. My mind raced. Every instinct screamed to retreat, to hide, to become Alex again, but Alexis refused to step back. Emma leaned close, whispering, "Just be yourself. You're ready." I drew in a deep breath, standing a little taller, adjusting my posture, letting Alexis fully inhabit my body. The stranger moved closer, curiosity giving way to admiration, or perhaps judgment. I couldn't tell. The adrenaline coursing through me made every sensation sharper. The pinch of my heels, the soft brush of my dress against my skin, the thrill of being exposed yet empowered. A flicker of doubt struck me. What if they saw through the act? What if my secret life unraveled in this very moment? The room seemed to shrink, all attention focused on me. Then, a surprising gesture. The stranger smiled, a warm, almost approving smile. You really pull it off," they said. The words sent a rush of relief and exhilaration through me, though the suspense hadn't fully dissipated. Approval didn't erase the tension, it only heightened it. Emma's hand squeezed mine again, and I realized something profound. Whatever happened next, whatever judgments or revelations awaited, I had faced the ultimate challenge. I had stepped fully into Alexis, embraced vulnerability, and lived it authentically. But the suspense wasn't over. Just as the stranger leaned in, as if to ask another question, the doorbell rang again. This time multiple rings, urgent and insistent. My heart skipped. Who else could be arriving? Another friend? A neighbor? Someone from my old life about to pull me back into the world of Alex. I glanced at Emma, who raised an eyebrow with that familiar smirk. "Looks like the night isn't over yet," she said, a tone that mixed amusement with mischief. I took another breath, steadying myself. Alexis had survived so much already. The challenges, the public exposure, the unexpected encounters. But the unknown still loomed. Every heartbeat, every glance, every step was a reminder that the duality of my life was fragile, thrilling, and entirely mine to navigate. The camera, or in our minds, the audience, waited. What would I do next? Would Alexis reveal herself fully, or would Alex creep back into control? Who was at the door, and how would they react to the truth? The screen fades to black, leaving everything unresolved, every question hanging in the air. The thrill, the fear, and the excitement lingered. The story had reached its emotional peak, yet the suspense remained, inviting speculation, discussion, and anticipation. Emma whispered softly as the final shot lingered, "No matter what happens, you're already incredible." And with that, the story paused, leaving the viewers on the edge of their seats, hearts racing, minds buzzing, and eyes glued to the screen, eagerly waiting for the next chapter in the journey of Alex and Alexis.